Jake's POV. The darkness faded, and I was standing in front of Suma's old school. To my left was Suma, perched on a metal bar in a row of other jungle gym-like bars. Over a year had passed since the last time I'd been here, and over 5 years since the first time. It looks different, I said, glancing up at the twisted metal and wood supports and moulded stone walls.
Really? It looks the same to me,
Suma said, not really bothering to look. From what I remember, her memories of this place weren't great. Do you want to come inside with me? I offered.
No. I am going to visit with a few old friends. Contact me when you are ready, and I will summon you to meet them as well.
You don't want to see Sela-Car?
I do not care to, no,
Suma said. For some reason, Suma and she never got along, but I doubt even Suma really knows why. She once said it was something about her personality, but I can't remember. Alright then, I'll see you in a bit. With that, Suma flew away, and I walked inside. Since I'd been here before, I knew in a general sense how to find her lab. Thankfully, it seemed school was out at the moment because no one was around. A few corners and a long hallway or two later, and I found Sela-Car. She was standing on the ground, wingtips pressed against a complex magic circle. Moments later, light began to bend and twist inside the circle, like heat waves coming off hot pavement. A mirror image of Sela-Car appeared in the circle, except she was not touching the circle itself. It was more like a still image, actually, but three-dimensional.
Finally!
Sela-Car cried out.
Finally!
The illusion repeated, in the exact same way as the original had said. Sela-Car began to flutter around excitedly and sing happily.
Hasumuda John Nisha, Hasumuda John Nisha, she sang,
until she locked eyes with my stupidly grinning face and the camera phone I pulled out to record. After that, she froze in place, halfway through a wing beat, and fell to the floor clumsily.
How long have you been watching?
Since before finally.
So, you saw everything?
Everything. I smiled and nodded. She stood back up and straightened her ruffled feathers as elegantly as she could, given that she had just face-planted, beak-planted, onto the floor moments ago.
It is good to see you are well and that you have returned safely.
Thanks. Are you okay?
I am uninjured,
Sela-Car said. Except for your pride.
Was there something you needed?
I could use some help reapplying and repairing the runes you put on my weapons. They got pretty beat up and I can't fix them myself right now. I raised my wrist. She saw it, and her feathers around her neck raised slightly, while the ones on her tail flattened themselves a bit.
I see. You have my sympathy. I will be happy to reapply your runes.
Thanks.
In return, I want 2 things.
Okay.
Firstly, you never tell a soul what just happened. Ever.
I chuckled at that and agreed.
Second, I need 2 more Dao jars of your mana.
I gave you quite a bit when I left, didn't I?
Yes, and that lasted a few months. I made several interesting discoveries and shared my findings with other researchers, but I ran out before I could continue my experiments.
Easy enough, I said. Looking around the room, I saw several more strange rune-engraved metal, wood and stone pillars. It looks like you've been busy.
Ah, the capital found out about my research, and Her Majesty the Queen allocated funding for me to continue it, so long as I share my finding with her first.
Queen Ompera?
Yes.
I don't like that. She was smart. This feels like she's looking for something, I thought to myself. Did she have any other conditions?
Only that my findings were to be kept from the nobility until she cleared it.
She knows about my struggles with nobles in the past. Maybe she's just looking for weakness to use against the dragon. Or both of us.
Sir Jake?
Sela-Car asked. Sorry, I said, snapping myself out of my thoughts. I was just wondering, do you happen to need a research assistant?
You wish to be my assistant?
Sela-Car said, very confused.
Do you have any experience with the runes that I am unaware of? When you left, you seemed rather unknowledgeable about them.
A lot has happened. Long story short, I made my own runes, I said, and some in my bag.
You made a rune of your own? Well, that is certainly well done, considering your lack of formal education, but I do not think that qualifies you to...
I pulled out the leather straps that I'd used to mute Harbinger's music, and showed them to her.
What is that?
She asked, intrigued. My runes. I placed them down in front of her and activated them. I'd already accounted for any inversion in these runes when I made them, so I didn't need to use a Dao jar to power them. The sound around us cut out as she tried to talk. Her beak opened, but no words came out. I watched as she pecked the ground, shouted, and spoke, until I finally pulled the mana back out.
What are these symbols?
Now she was interested. Suma's POV.
I lied to Jake, telling him I was on my way to see old friends. In truth, I was flying to my parents' home. I told Jake that I did not want to see them, and at the time I meant it. But the more I thought about it, the more I missed them, even if all we did was argue the last time we spoke. So, landing outside their home, I cast the spell that untangled the vines and flew inside. "Mother? Father?" I called out. "Daughter of mine? Suma?" My mother called out, then probably remembered that I had a name. She came out from her roost and greeted me, singing happily. "My baby, you have come home." She pressed her head against mine and let out a shaky sigh. "I have missed you so much, Suma." I have missed you too," I said, caught off guard. Pulling my head from hers after a moment, I asked, "Is father here?" No. Your father and I have decided to end our relationship." Mother's voice was tired yet full of emotion. "What?" I asked. "I am afraid we could not reconcile after an argument." "You two have been together since before I was hatched. What was the argument about?" "It was about your familiar, and the army. What else?" she said. "But I thought you two disliked both of those things." "We did, but in time I changed my mind. I said that we should have supported your decision more and accepted your familiar, as strange as he was. Your father thought he was right and heard nothing else about it," I asked, knowing my father well enough, despite his efforts to the contrary, to feel assured that is what happened. "Yes, perhaps it is for the best. Ours was always an unorthodox pairing," she said. Mother was right. By most New May standards, staying with a single partner for longer than 2 years was abnormal. Jake once mentioned that his people often mate for life, but in this kingdom at least it was not. Normally a couple only stays together until a child is hatched, and then the two separate. If the child is male, they stay with the father. If they are female, they stay with the mother. "I do not know. He was cold to me, but nonetheless, I did still have an affection for him," I said. "Suma, my child, I am sorry for the way we left things off the last time we saw each other. I have regretted it more than you could ever know. Please forgive me." "Yes, I forgive you." I placed my head on hers again. "Perhaps I could meet your familiar. He protected you in the army, so I wish to thank him properly." "He would like that." Suddenly a thought occurred to me. "Mother, would you like a name?"